Managing file system in Linux. Now file system is different than the Windows. In Windows we have a different kind of file system. Here in Linux we have a different kind of file system. In Linux what we see, we don't see the partitions actually. We see what? We see the directory structure. It is called the file system. So when you go to computer here, even not in the graphical also, in command line you can't see the partitions, but when you log in as a graphical user, but still a graphical interface, still you can't see the partition. You see what? The directory structure. It is the file system, and all these directories are under slash. As you can see here, this is slash, and under the slash we have all these directories. Now where is the partition? So partitions are mounted on these directories. So the partitions will do what? We mount the partitions on these directories. These are system directories, and on these directories we mount the partitions. For example, on this boot directory we have mounted a separate partition. So all these files are going into that separate partition. And whatever we don't create, if suppose we don't create partition for any directory, so the data will go to slash. And for slash also we have a separate partition. That is what the system partitions we have. So what we have in Linux, so what we see in Linux is a file system. It is called file system. It is like a directory structure. So when you open the computer, that means you are opening it what? The slash. This slash is the root of the file system. Every directory, every file are inside this slash. This is a, we can say it is a directory. So everything inside this slash in Linux. So whatever you store in the Linux system, it will all go to this slash. So whenever you create any directory, create any file, or inside a directory you create file, all the data will go under slash. Like these directories, these are system directories which we don't create, they create automatically. They create when we install the system, like boot, where we have the installation files, bootable files we have. Then we have the root. Root is a home, root user's home directory. Then other use home directories goes to home. Bin, under bin we have the command binaries. Bin for everyone, as bin for the super user. etc have all the configuration file. Variable directory will have all the variable data, like data for the mail server, data for the database server, data for the other other applications, database kind of application. So data goes into this var directory by default. Now the same as these directories, we have other system directories also. Now all these directories will be created by default, and they will be created under slash, and all the data which is inside these directories also goes to slash. And for that, this slash needs to have a space, and that space it will get from our hard disk. Now our hard disk is known in our system as a SDA. The system name for our hard disk is SDA. Now this SD indicates that this is the SATA or iSCSI hard disk. So if you are using SCSI or SATA hard disk, then it named as SD. Then when we use the number of hard disk, means we use more than one hard disk, then it will numbered as this A, B, C, D. Like first hard disk will numbered as a SDA, that means this is our first hard disk. Then SDB is for the second hard disk. Third hard disk will named as a SDC, then SDD, the SDE, and so on. So this is the system name for our hard disk here in Linux system. Now when we have our data stored into this, so we create what? The partition. Now when we create the partition, so first partition it is for the slash, because everything is going under the slash. So for slash we need a separate partition. So we create a separate partition for it. For example, this slash is mounted, this partition. That means this partition is mounted on slash. Now mounting the partition, what that means? In simple word, it is like linking the partition to directory. In simple word, we can say we are linking the directory to the partition, or partition to the directory. Now after linking it, after mounting it, what it will do, all the directory's data, all the data which this directory consists, it will go to that particular partition. It will store into that partition. Now we will not see the partition, we will see only the directory. We will see only the directory. Then when we want to create another partition, so we can create and we can mount them on other directories. Like for example, we have to create one partition, separate partition for this boot directory, because this directory shows the bootable file and it needs to be need to have a different and separate partition for it, and that partition must be the first partition. So first partition, that means it will be named as a SD. A is a hard disk name, and the number of the partition will be 1. So the name of the partition will be SDA1. A second partition which we create, it will named as a SDA2, and then it will goes on SDA3, SDA4, SDA5, and it goes on like this. Now we created a separate partition for this directory, but the directory is still under slash. So it will still remain under slash, but the data will go to other partition. Same as for the other directories. If we want, we can create the partition for other directories also. Now these two partitions are compulsory because these two partitions are system partitions. So whatever you want, you have to create these two partitions. One partition is for the boot directory because it is having a bootable file. The second partition you need to create it for the slash because all the data is going under the slash, and for that we need a partition. So this is system partitions. This is required must. We need to create, if we want to create, then we can create the partition for other directories also. Like for example, at the installation, time of installation, we created this partition for the home also, because this home is the home directory of all the users, all the normal users, and we can have lots of users, and those lots of users can store the lots of data. So we should have a separate partition for them. So this is what we created at the time of installation. Now if you have remaining space, then you can create other partition for the other directories. Now not for the other directories like this bin, sbin, etc. These directories, the lib directories, these directories must be in the same partition, because these directories consist of these application data. So it must be in the same partition. Otherwise your application may work slowly. But we can have a separate partition for where. Why? Because it has all the database kind of application data. Like if you install mail server, so all the mails will go into this where directory. If you configure the database server, either it is MySQL, SQL, Oracle SQL, all the data will go to this where directory. That means all the database. So it consists all the database type of data. So we should have a separate partition for this directory, because it will consist a lots of data. So it can, if it goes under the slash, then it can fill the space of the other system files. So we can separate it. So we should create a separate partition for it. It is recommended. Now like Windows, what we do, we store all the system files in C drive, separate partition, and data we store it into a separate drive like D drive. Now here suppose I want to store movies or songs. So what I will do, I will create a directory here. Now I don't want to create it into any other directory here, which is already there. There are system directories. So I will create a separate directory here for my movies or my songs, my videos, or whatever. Now if I am creating another directory, then still it will be created under slash, and that means all the data I stored into this directory will also go under slash, and under slash, that means it is going to the system partition, and system partition is what? Our slash. And then it will use the space of the system files also, like it will allocate the space which is we are using for the system files. So we can use, or we can create a separate partition for this directory. like our data partition. So what I will do, I will create a separate partition here and then I will mount it to this directory. So whenever I store any data here, it will store into this separate partition and it will not go to the system partition, and this will called as a data partition. Same as this home directory partition is also called the data partition. So apart from these two system partition, whatever the partition we create, they will called as a data partition. Now we can create these separate partitions at the time of installation also, and after the installation also we can create these partitions. Now at the time of installation, when we choose there are two options: choose to create automatic partitioning or to create the manual partitioning. Now when you select to have automatic partitioning, then what the system do, it will create a system partitions only, which is only required. So what it do here, when you choose to create the partition automatically at the time of installation, so what it will do here, it will create a partition for boot, separate partition, one partition. Then it will create a partition for the slash, a separate partition, it is required. So it creates the partition for boot first. Then it will create the partition for slash, that is the system partition which is required. Then it creates the partition for swap. Now swap is what? It is a virtual memory or it is a page file, and it is not a directory, it is actually a file, it is a system file. So it will work as a RAM, we can say it will work as a buffer area for RAM. In Windows it is called the page file or virtual memory. Here it is called swap memory. So this is also a part of our hard disk. It is also a partition of our hard disk. So these three is a system partition which must be created. So when we select the automatic partitioning, then it will create all these system partitions. Now it will also create at the time of installation this partition for the home directory, and that it will create only when your hard disk is more than 50 GB. So if our hard disk is more than 50 GB, then it will do what? It will create a separate partition for home. That is also under. It will consist. It will look like it will be as a data partition. It will not be the system partition, but still, it will create that partition. Now one more thing you have to note, that when you select automatic partitioning at the time of installation, so what it will do here, it will create a standard partition for boot. That means it will create a standard partition for boot, and that will be almost 500 MB. So we can say 512 MB. That is the standard we can say. Now after that, what it do here, it will create a single standard partition using the whole remaining space. It creates a single standard partition, and then what it do, it uses the LVM. It uses LVM here, and then it creates a separate logical volumes for these system partitions. So this is a different logical volume, and this will be a different logical volume. But when you check how many partitions we have, when you select it automatic partitioning, so you will see only two partitions. One is for the boot, and the second one is used for LVM, to configure LVM, and then in LVM it creates the logical volumes for it. So it creates the logical volume for slash, and also it creates the logical volume for swap, and if needed, then it creates the logical volume for this home partition also. This is what the automatic behavior. Now if we select to create the partition manually, then we can go and select the LVM also, and we can select the standard partitions also. Now what is LVM? and how we can configure the LVM, we will see. First we will see the basic partitioning. So this is what the default thing, and this is what the file system we have in Linux. Now how we will manage this, how we can do, and first we can create these partitions at the time of installation, or we can do it after installation also. Remember, when you choose automatic, it will use the whole space. So after installation, you will not have any remaining space to do anything else. It will use the whole space then. Now we will see how we can manage it. Back to our Linux system. Now I will open the terminal here, and then we'll see how we can manage it. Okay, so first, when it is in command line, and if you want to see how many partitions we have, so we can use this command fdisk. This command we can use to manage the partition, and also we can use this to check the partition also. So first I will use -l command. This -l command option will do what? It will list the partition table, which is right now we have. So when I run this command, and remember, this command is only for root user, it is not for the normal user. Normal user can only run this command if the normal user has a permission, that is sudo permission. Now what the output it shows here, the first thing it says that this is the disk, this is the name of our disk, that is SDA. That SDA means it is the SATA or SCSI disk, and A means it is what? It is the first disk we have. And this disk file is under the dev directory. All the device files goes into dev directory. Then this is the size of our partition in GB, what we understand. And if it goes to bytes, then it is like this. This is the byte. Then sectors. So this hard disk has these number of sectors. Then if you see the unit, so unit is equal to sectors of 1 multiplied by 512, that is actually 512 bytes. So a single unit for doing the input output is what? 512 byte for our hard disk. Sector size is logical or physical is also 512 bytes. So logical is also 512 byte and physical is also 512 byte. Then input output size is also minimum or optimal is also 512 byte. So we can store the data minimum in that 512 byte. So this is the sector size where we can store the data. Disk level is DOS. Then this is the identifier of the disk, and then here it is showing that how many partitions we are having here. So as I said, the first partition name will be SDA1. Second partition will be SDA2, then we have SDA3, then we have SDA4, then we have SDA5. And all these partition files, all these device files are also under the dev directory. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. We have total number of 5 partitions, and we have selected this to we have created this manually, because at the time of installation I choose to create the partitions manually, and manually I created these 5 partitions. Now here it is showing that the starting sector of this partition and then the ending sector of this partition. Now what is the sector? So physically when you open the hard disk, you will see what? You will see the disk like this. In between there is a motor which is rotating the disk. You will not see anything, but logically it is divided into sectors and tracks. These are tracks. So this is what the part, it is called the sector for the hard disk. So this is what the sector, logical and physical. Physical is what? 512 byte. So it is talking about that sector. So here it is showing that the first partition is starting from this number of this number sector, and it is ending on this number. Now in blocks, that means this is the unit. So how many blocks it has? In the first partition we have these number of blocks. So it is actually byte. So when you see how many bytes this is, so we can say that this is 512, actually 500 MB. Then second partition is starting from this number of sector. You can see it is ending here on 23, 623, and the next is starting from 624. Then it is ending on this 407. Then the other one is starting, third one is starting from 408, and it is ending on 479. So this is what the sector number, and this is what the block in bytes. Then it is show you the type of ID. And this 83 means it is the normal Linux partition. Now we can we know the partition, or we can know the partition by the name. This is the system type, but for the system it is an ID. So for system to understand the partition type, it can understand by this ID. So 83 is for the normal partition. We create the swap partition, it is 82. There is one more partition type, it is called extended, and it is type ID is 5. Now when we see here, we have 5 partitions, but how many partitions we created? So we can see that which partition is mounted on which directory. Now if we want to see, now in this command we can see the hard disk type, hard disk size, then we can see that how many partitions we have, and then we can see the size of the partition in blocks and sectors. We can see the type of the partitions, but it does not show that the partitions are mounted on which directory. So if we want to see the partitions are mounted on which directory, then we will use the command mount. Now this mount command will show us that which partition is mounted on which directory. Now when we use this, it shows now lots of information. Now lots of information because it is showing the system partitions also. System partition, that means we can say it is a temporary system partitions, which is not a real partition. It is actually a temporary virtual partitions which is created by the system for the system files and system directories. For example, if you see here, this is dev temp fs. This is dev temp fs which is mounted on dev directory. The type of that partition file system is dev temp fs. So it is actually the temporary file system. This is the proc file system which is mounted on the proc directory, proc partition, sysfs. These are all temporary file system, and among that we have our own partitions also. So if you see here, we have the partition SDA2 also, we can see. Now what I will do, I will filter it, and what I will do, with the mount command I will run it the pipe, and then I will grab a value SDA. That means I want to see only those lines which contain SDA. Now SDA means SDA1, SDA2, SDA3, everything. On those names, SDA1, SDA2, SDA3, we have SDA common. So I want to see the lines only which contain SDA. Now here we can see SDA1, dev SDA1, which is mounted on boot directory. Because boot directory consists of the bootable files, so first partition always used for the boot directory. Then it shows the file system type. Now file system type is what? XFS. Now what is the file system? File system is actually that it is actually a small software which provides the way how the data is going to store in the storage. So how the data is going to store in the storage, and also how it is going to retrieve. It is a kind of table where when we store the data, in the table we have the columns and rows, and when we store the data, any data, so it stores the information about the data, like the type of data, address, where it is stored into the physical hard disk. Then it stores the attributes of the data, like who created the data, what is the modified date, and the other informations. So all these information related to the data is stored into the file system. So for our operating system, it will be easy to retrieve the data. So when it want to retrieve the data from the hard disk, so what it will do, our operating system, our kernel will check the file system, and it will see that where the data is actually stored. So it will become easy for the operating system or kernel to retrieve the data from the hard disk. Now in any storage, if you use any kind of storage, we need to have a file system. Whether it is a hard disk, flash drive, CD drive, DVD drive, anything, we have to have a file system. Without a file system, we cannot store any data in any storage. So in Linux system, all the partition uses this XFS file system. Now in Linux, in Windows, if you go and check the partition properties of the partition, you will see NTFS. So we have NTFS file system, which is used in Windows by default. It is Windows, it is new technology file system for Windows. Then we have FAT file system. That FAT file system is actually the oldest one. It is the most common file system. It can work in Linux also. It can work in Windows also. Most of the operating system or most of the system supports this FAT, and that is why our flash drives, our USB drives are formatted with this FAT file system, so that it can support in any type of system or operating system. So we have a FAT, and in Windows we have exFAT, exFAT, that is actually the advanced version of FAT, which stores a large number of file system. Then we have in Linux we have ext file system. Now this ext, in Linux we have ext1, then it comes ext2, then ext3, and then ext4. So ext1 was the old one. It was used in the old RHEL, that is we can say RHEL1, RHEL2. Then as the ext2 came, then it was used till the old versions of RHEL. Then ext3 was used till RHEL5. Then in RHEL6, the file system is used, by default the file system uses ext4. So this is the file system used in Red Hat Linux by default. So this ext4 was the file system for the default in RHEL6. Now in RHEL7 we have a default file system is XFS. XFS is the file system which we can say it is the advanced version of this ext. But still we have the option to create the file system of ext3 or 4 in our RHEL7, in our Red Hat Linux 7. So these are the different file system we have. Now in Linux we have the ext file system, or we have XFS by default. So when we don't select any file system, it will create what at the time of installation. If you don't select, by default it will choose XFS. This is the default one. And we can choose this file system like ext3 and 4 also. Then other file system is also there, which is the advanced one is B3FS. We can use B3FS also in Linux, and in Windows they are using NTFS, and also they are introducing the new file system ReFS. But in Linux we have this ext, XFS, B3FS. Now by default in RHEL7 it is what? XFS, and that is what it is showing here. So it is showing that the type of the file system for SDA1 which is mounted on boot is what? XFS. Then when we mount the partition, we mount with the default with the options, and these are the default options. When we don't do anything, these default options will remain there. For example, it says read write. Read write, that means it is read write. It is mounted with the read write option. That means we can edit, we can add data, we can remove data from this partition, and the other options are also there. These are the default options. We have not added anything. It is the default option comes when we mount normally any partition on any directory. Then we are seeing here SDA2, which is mounted on slash with the same file system with the same options. Now SDA3 is not showing here. Now SDA3 is not showing here. Why? Because SDA3 is mounted on swap, and swap is not a directory. It is what? It is a file. It is a normal. It is a system file. So you can't see the swap here. So 3 is not showing here. Then 4 is also not showing here. Now why 4 is not showing here? Because the number 4 partition, if you see, if we see here, it is actually extended partition. This extended partition also we can't use. So we can't use it, so it is not showing here. So directly it is showing what? SDA5, which is mounted on home. So we are seeing SDA1, SDA2, SDA3 is a swap partition, so it is not showing. SDA4 is a extended partition, so it is also not showing. So it is directly showing SDA5, which is mounted on /home. Now what is extended partition? Now whether we create partitions in Linux or Windows, so there are partitioning style we have, and that partitioning styles we have two. First one is MBR. So if we use the first one is MBR, and the other one is GPT. So if we select MBR, that is master boot record, as our partitioning style, then what we can do here, we can create only 4 partitions. In MBR, what we can create only 4 partitions. Total number of partitions we can create only 4, and all these 4 partitions are called primary partitions. So we have option to create only 4 partitions in MBR. Now this was useful in old days, but nowadays we need more partition, but we can't create it in MBR. We can create only 4 partitions. Now if we want to create more than 4 partitions, then what we have to do, we have to use the extended partition here. In MBR, if we want to create more than 4 partitions, then we have to create 3 partitions as a primary, and the 4th one we can create extended partition, and in that extended partition we can create logical drives. So basically the partition will remain 4, but we create logical drives, and we can create n numbers of logical drives. So if we want to create a partition in MBR partitioning system, so we can create only 4 partitions, 1, 2, 3, and the 4th one. Now if we want to have more than 4 partitions, then what we have to do, we have to create this 4th partition as a extended partition, and we will use the all available space, and then we use to create the logical drive inside the extended partitions. Now it looks like a normal partition, but basically it is called a logical drive under the extended partition, and we can create n numbers of logical drives under the extended partition. Now what we are seeing in our system is this, because by default when you install the operating system, it uses the MBR partitioning style, because this one is by default bootable. The other partitioning style is GPT, and that one is not bootable. That means we can't use it for installing the operating system, installing the Linux operating system. So if we want to install the Linux operating system, then when we don't select it, by default it will select MBR, and because it select MBR, we can create only 4 partitions, and that is what happening in our system also. We are seeing SDA1, we are seeing SDA2. These are normal partitions. Then we are seeing SDA3, that is also a normal partition, which is mounted on swap. Then it is not showing the 4th partition. It is 4th partition is actually what? It is the extended partition. So the 4th partition is actually the extended partition. The fifth partition we create becomes the logical drive under the extended partition. So this fourth partition, the extended partition, we can't use it. We can use it only to create a partition, a logical drives inside it. We cannot use it to store data. We can use it to create logical drives. So when we run the mount command, so what we saw here, this partition 1 is mounted on boot, we saw that. The partition number 2 mounted on slash, we saw that. Then partition 3 we didn't see because it is mounted on swap, it is not a directory. Then fourth partition is not showing because it is the extended partition, and the fifth partition we are seeing which is mounted on home directory. So this is what the default one. Now if you want, you can use the GPT also, GPT partitioning style. Now this partitioning style can have almost 128 partitions, and all of them can be primary. So there is no concept of having extended partition. We can have all 128 primary partitions, so no need to have extended partition. We can create as many as partition we want, and all these partitions will be primary because we don't need to create extended partition here. But the only problem here for the Linux is that we cannot use it to install the operating system. So when we install the operating system in a hard disk, it creates by default MDR. Now if we want to, if we attach another disk and we want to use that disk as a data, then we can use that disk as a with this GPT partitioning style. So when we install the operating system, automatically by default it selects the MBR partitioning style, and that is why we are seeing this extended partition there. So what we are seeing here, SDA1 is a primary partition, SDA2 is a primary partition, SDA3 is also a primary partition, but it is mounted on swap, so it is not showing here. But SDA4 is a extended partition, and that is why it is not showing here. This logical drive SDA5 is showing here. So as we saw here, when we run this fdisk command, this SDA4 is an extended partition. And if you see the sector, this one starts on 408 and ended on 479. The next one started, this fourth partition started on 480. You see, it started on 480, and then what it did, it actually uses the whole space. If you see, this is the total number of sectors we have here. We can see the total number of sector here. So it is actually using the whole remaining space for this extended partition. And then inside the extended partition, it is creating the logical drive here. It is using 528. It is the same one as this one, you can see. And then it is ending on this, but still there are some space remaining. So we have some space remaining still which we can use. So fdisk command, this command shows how many partitions, what is the hard disk name, what is the size in byte, in sectors. Then it shows the type of the hard disk, it shows the number of partitions we have, then it shows the size of the partitions, size of the partition in blocks, and also it shows the starting and ending sector of the partition. Then also shows that what is the type of the partition. Then if you want to see the partitions are mounted on which directory with which file system, then we can run the mount command. So we can see that the partitions are mounted on which partition, which directory, with which file system, and also what are the options used. These are default, but we can change this. These are default options. Now if we want to see it in detail, like which partition is mounted on which directory, what is the total size, what is the remaining size, what is the use size, what is the file system also. So we can use this command df-h Now -h is for the human readable, because if we want to see the size in human readable, that is MB, GB and TB, then we should use the H option. Then capital T will show you the type of partition also, like what is the partition's file system type. So what it is showing here, first it is showing the file system, that means the partition name. Then it is showing the type, because file system type, because we use this T option. Then it is showing the total size. It is total size in GB, because we use the H option for human readable. Then it shows that it is used 4.4 GB. All the available space is 443 GB, and 10% is only used, and it is mounted on slash. Then it is showing all the temporary file system also. Then it is showing here that Dev SDA5, which is XFS, total 19 GB, use is 37 MB, 19 GB total free. It is mounted on home. Then SDA1 XFS 509 MB total, and then it is using 155, 355 is remaining, and use 31% mounted on boot. Then again, this is the temporary file system. Now it is also showing the CD DVD. We have already connected the CD DVD here. You can see it on the desktop. So it is also mounted. It is also mounted on this directory. This is the location, this is the directory where our CD DVD is mounted. And it is also showing the file system type of CD DVD, and that is ISO 9660. This is the file system type used for the DVD. Remember, I told you that without a file system you cannot use any storage, whether it is CD, DVD or a hard disk or a flash drive. So in Linux it uses ISO 9660 file system, and in Windows it uses, the DVD uses UDF file system. So this is what the file system we have, and the size of this hard disk is, this DVD is 3.8 GB, and total is used because it is not writable, it is already written, so it is 100% used. So this df command shows that which partition is mounted on which directory, and it shows the total size in the human readable form, used size and available size in percentage also. And also we want, then we can see the file system also by using the T option. If we don't use T option, then it will not show file system type. It shows only these informations. Now to check the partitions, number of partition, type of partition, we can use fdisk -L. Then to check where it is mounted, we can use mount command with grep, so that we can see the specific only for the partitions. Then we can use this command to see in detail that which partition is mounted on which directory, and also what is the type of partition, also what is the total size, and also what is used and available size in human readable form. Now we know that this partition SDA2 is mounted on slash. Now under the slash we have multiple different directories, but it is showing the total used size. Now we don't know that which directory is using how much size. So what we can do, if we want to see the specific size of the directory, then we can use du. This uses command, this du command, to check the size of a specific directory, and then we will use it with sh option for human readable. So I want to see the size of the partition directory called etc. Now it is under the slash. Slash is using 4 GB, but I don't know what the size this partition, this directory is using. So I can use this du-sh command, and it is showing that this particular directory is using 37 MB size. So we can see any size, any directory size we want. I want to see what is the size of var. it is 336. So we can go on to see what is the size of different directories by using this du-sh command. Now when we connect any flash drive or any CD DVD, then because it is graphical, so what it do actually, it automatically mount it. So when we connect any flash drive, any CD drive, it will do what? It will automatically mount it. But if suppose it is a command line operating system, it is not a graphical version, so it will not mount it manually, automatically. So we have to do it manually. So we can do what? We can connect, otherwise we can't see it. Remember, without mounting it, we cannot see any partition. So if you connect the DVD, it will come as a storage and you can't see it until you mount it somewhere. Then if you connect the flash drive, then again you can't see it until you mount it somewhere. By default, if you see here, the DVD is mounted, the DVD we connect, it mounted into this location by default. This is the directory it create and it mounts it here. But if we connect a separate DVD or we connect a flash drive, for example, I connect a flash drive here. Now I connected my flash here and you can see it is showing here. Now because it is graphical, so it is showing here, it is connected here. We can open with here and this is graphical, and on the desktop we can see the link also. So this is what the flash, it is automatically mounted. But if it is a command line, then you can't see it and it will not be mounted automatically. So what you will do then? You will do what? If you want to use that, then you have to mount it. When you use this command fdisk-l, then you will see here, if you remember, this one is SDA, this one our real hard disk of 100 GB with all these partitions. Now it is showing one more hard disk, it is SDB. So when you connect any flash, it will come as a second hard disk. It will show it as a hard disk. It shows that it is a second storage hard disk, SDB, and which is having 32 GB size and all these sectors and units and all, and it consists of one partition, that is SDB, and also the sector it uses, the size total in block, and the type of that partition. And you can see it is a FAT32. So this is the FAT partition and a FAT file system, and also you can see it is mounted directly. As I said, the FAT file system is known for it works in every operating system, every system. So our flashes are mounted, configured with this, formatted with this FAT file system. Now if I use this command, so I can see this SDB1, it is mounted under this directory. Again you can see run media root, like our DVD is mounted here, run media root, because I logged in as a root, and then it create this directory for the DVD and this directory for the flash. What is the file system? It is vFAT, it is a FAT file system. This is the size. Now if suppose it is not mounted here, either the DVD or the flash, it is not mounted by default, not mounted automatically, then we can mount it manually also. Now for mounting these manually, we have these directory. We have these directories, these media directory which is empty, and also we have the MNT directory which is empty. So we can use this directory to mount these additional things. So how we can do that? We can use mkdir. I will use first create one partition here, one folder here, MNT. I will create one directory for the flash drive. Now I created the directory under MNT, but it does not have anything. Now what I will do, I will mount my flash drive on this directory so that I can use it. So what I will do here, I will use a command mount. So for mounting it, we can use the command mount. Then we have to mention the partition. We know it is SDB1. we know by you running this command. So we know that the partition name is sdb1. So I use the name of the partition, then I have to mention where I want to mount. So I want to mount it on this directory. So just like we run the copy command or move command, we will mention the source and destination. In source we will mention the partition, in destination we will mention the directory where we want to mount it, and when you press enter it will mount. Now the data which is in this partition, which is in this drive, it is now showing into this directories. So when you list the directory now, you can see the data here. This is the data which we have under this partition. Same as we can mount the DVD drive also. For example, the drive is not mounted. So what I can do, I can create a directory under MNT or media. This is for my CD. And then I will use the same command mount. And then I will mention the CD-ROM under the dev, and I want to mount it on MNT CD. And it says that it is mounting the CD DVD and it is mounting it on read-only format. Because it is the CD DVD, and we can see the data under that /MNT CD directory. So all the data of that CD we can see here. Now when you check this with df-h command, now it is showing that this CD DVD is mounted on this drive, this directory, and this partition, this flash drive is mounted on this directory. Now I want to remove my flash drive. So what I have to do, I can pull it down, but it is not a good idea. So first we have to unmount it, and then we can remove our flash drive. So for unmounting it, we use command umount. Umount, that means it is actually unmount. Then we have to mention the name of the partition or CD DVD, or even we can mention the directory name where the partitions are mounted. So for example, I want to unmount my flash drive, so I will say SDB1, unmount umount SDB1, and it is now unmounted. Now I can remove my drive. We can check it by using the command, and we can see now it is not mounted. Okay, it is now goes back to the default position because it was already mounted there. So I will unmount it from there also. Umount dev SDB1 again, and now it is unmounted from the position also, and now I can remove my flash. Then for unmounting the DVD-ROM or CD DVD, same we can use umount command, and then I will say dev CD-ROM, and it is now unmounted. You can check on the desktop also. Now it is gone from here, and now it will not show this also, and we can see now it is not showing DVD drive is also not mounted. So we use the mount command to check which partition is mounted on which directory, and also we can use mount command to mount any new partition on the directory, or we can use to mount the DVD drive or flash drive we connect. Now we want to do what? We want to create a partition now. Now why we want to create a partition? Right now we have all the default partitions created which we are using right now. Our system is working, but I want to create more partition. For example, I want to store the movies here, and for storing the movies, it's a big data. I don't want to use the system partition because it is a system partition or is for the system files. I want to store it in the separate partition. So what I can do, I can create a separate partition for it. Like in Windows, we do create the D drive for data. So right now we have all the system partitions created. Now if we have available space in our existing hard disk, then we can use that space to create additional partition. And if we don't have any space there, then we have to connect another hard disk there. So right now when I check here with this fdisk command, so I can see the whole space is what? Total sector is this, but this last partition is ending on this sector. That means we are still remaining with some sector, and we can create the partition for that by using that space. So, and one more thing, if I create another partition now, so that will be created by default the logical partition. Why? Because right now we have already created three primary partition in this hard disk, and the fourth extended partition is also already created. So whatever the partition we create now in this hard disk, that partitions will always be the logical partition. So because the extended is already created and we don't have any other space remaining, we have space remaining only under the extended partition. So we can only create logical drive under the extended partition. We cannot create any other partition because the limit is already reached to 4. 4 limit is the 4 because it is MBR. So 4 is limit and limit is already there. So we can only create the logical drive in this existing hard disk. So now we want to create a partition here. So for creating the partition in this hard disk, when we run this command fdisk-l, you will see the name of the hard disk here. Then to create the partition, we will use command fdisk, and then we will mention the name of that hard disk, SDA. So if you want to do the partitioning in SDA, then you will mention SDA. If you want to do the partitioning in other hard disk, like you are having multiple hard disks, SDA, SDB, SDC, SDD, so you will name whatever the hard disk you want to create or modify the partitions. So we name the hard disk name SDA because we have only one hard disk, and we want to do we want to modify or create the partition in this. So I will select enter here. Now when you press enter, it says welcome to fdisk. This is the utility for Linux, and this is the version for this utility. Now it says here that changes will remain in memory until you decided to write them. Now whatever the changes I will do here, I will create partition, I will delete partition, I will modify partition, whatever I do here, those changes will remain in the memory until I I decided to write them. That means until I save it, it will still remain in the memory. And if I don't save it, then it will not do anything. If I suppose I change lots of things, I add some partition, I delete some partition, and then without saving it, I go exit from here, then nothing will happen and nothing will change because I have not saved it. So it says be careful before using the write command. So you have to be careful when you're when you're using the write command and saving the changes. Now saving the changes, be careful, this is the same drive we are used to install the operating system. Now what we can do, we can actually delete all these partitions because we logged in as a root, and only root can run this command, and root can do what? It can delete all these partitions. Still our system will work because it is working, but when you reboot the system, then it will not work because the partitions are not there. So at that time it is running, it will keep running because it is running from the RAM memory, but when you reboot, it will try to see the partition will be not there, then it will do what? It will not start. So be careful. It is not like you will delete a partition and you will it will stop working. It will keep working and it will delete. You will delete the partition, you will feel nothing is happened, everything is okay, and when you reboot the system, gone. System is gone, and it will go to the grub mode because it is not finding any partitions. So we have to be careful when you are saving the changes. Now when you are in the tool, when you are in this utility fdisk, you can get the help from pressing the M command. And whatever the command you want to give here, you can get the help from pressing the M command. This M is for help here. So when you press M and enter, then you will see all the options which you can use here. Now this fdisk is a utility for Linux, and it is available for all the other Linux also. Not only this RHEL, it is available for all the other Linux. So the options you see here, it is not specific for this Linux, it is also, you can see it for the other Linux also. So first option is A. A option is to toggle the bootable flag. Bootable flag, that means which partition is bootable, it is set as a flag there. So if you see here, when we run the fdisk command, this is the bootable flag which is set on this SDA1. Now this means what? This partition is the bootable partition, active partition we can say. So whenever our system boots, so it will check this partition for the bootable files. We can change this flag by using this A command. We can change it to other partition also. Then B is to edit the BSD disk label. Now BSD is another type of Unix which is not this Linux. So this option is not useful for us right now. It is for some BSD Unix or BSD Linux. So for changing that disk label for BSD Linux or Unix, this is not for this Linux right now. Then C is to toggle the DOS compatibility flag. DOS compatibility flag, that means our hard disk will support the DOS or not support the DOS. Right now it does not support the DOS, and this option is actually deprecated. We can still see the option, we can still toggle it, but it is not supported, it is removed, it is deprecated. If you try to use it, if you try to enable the flag, it is enabled. It says that the DOS compatibility flag is set, that it is compatible with the DOS file system, but still it is saying this is deprecated, we should not use it. So I will disable it again. Then this is not useful. Then D, this is useful, this is to delete the partition. So if you want to delete any partition, so we can use D option. Then G is to create the new empty GPT partition table. So if we want to create the empty GPT partition table, so we can use the G command. Right now it is already created MBR, so we cannot convert it into GPT. We can do it if we delete all the partitions. Remember, it will lose the data. So once you selected MBR or GPT, you cannot change it. You can only change it after removing all the partitions, and that means after removing all the data. Then capital G, this capital G is to create an IRIX CGI partition table. Now again, this is like a GPT, it is another partitioning table, type of partitioning table, which is normally we don't use, it is for the Unix system. Then L will show you the list of known partitions type. So what type of partitions our Linux support, it shows by using this L option. It will show you the list. Now if I use the L command here, it will show me the whole list, and we can see it supports all these type of partitions. Now remember, it supports the type of partition, that means we can create the partition of these types, but it is not necessary that our system, our Linux kernel will also support it. This is the fdisk. We are right now under the fdisk tool. That means we are right now under the fdisk tool. We are under this utility, and this utility do what? It support these number of type, this type of partitions. That means we can create these number of type partitions. But when you exit from here, so our kernel does not support everything. For example, we can create NTFS partition also. You can see here NTFS, exFAT, but this is Linux, this is for Windows. Now right now by default our Linux kernel does not support this. It does not support this type of partition. This file system is not available. Now if we create the partition with this type number number ID is 7. This is the type of partition and the system ID is 7. So we can create the partition of this type, but to use the partition we need a file system. And for creating the file system, we need to support our kernel. Our kernel must support that file system. So by default right now our kernel does not support all these type of file system. It supports FAT, VFAT actually, it supports the AXT, it supports the XFS, it supports the ReFS, it supports this FAT32, and also it supports this Linux swap, it supports the Linux LVM, Linux Red, but it does not support all of these. So we can still create the partitions of any of these type, but it will remain the raw partition. Now raw partition we cannot use it until we create the file system. So for creating the file system we have to install the support in our kernel. Otherwise we cannot use it. So for creating the file system we have to install the support for that file system in our kernel. We have to update the kernel for it. Otherwise we cannot use it. We can create the raw partition. So this fdisk will do what? It will create the raw partition for us, whether it is NTFS, whether it is this compact diagnostic, whether it is Golden Bow, whether it is OpenBSD, FreeBSD, MOBIDA, BTD, SFS, NetDOS, whatever. We can create any of these, but they will remain raw partition without any file system. So for creating the file system we have to update our kernel. So L option will show you all the list of supported partition type. It is not it shows all the list of known partition type, not the file system. Then M is for printing the same help menu. It will print the same help menu. Now N is to create the new partition. So if we want to create new partition, then we can create it by using N. Then O is to create a new empty DOS partitioning table. Now again, just like this GPT, this DOS is actually MBR. As we see here, when we use the fdisk command, it is saying the label type of this hard disk is DOS. DOS is actually MBR. So right now it is already MBR, so we don't need to do that. And we can only do this when our hard disk is empty, when there is no data into that hard disk, no partition into it. So we can create GPT, we can convert it into MBR, DOS, and if it is MBR, then we can convert it into GPT. Then P is to print the partition table. It will print right now available partitions we have in this particular hard disk. So when you give P, it shows that we have these partitions available. We have created these partitions. And we can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 partitions is already there. Then Q is to quit without saving the changes. So remember, whatever the changes we do here, they remain in the memory until we return them. So before writing the changes, we can quit it without saving the changes. So if you feel like you have did lots of changes which you should not save it, so you can just press Q and exit from here without saving anything. Then S is to create the new empty Sun disk label. Now this is for the Sun microsystem, Sun operating system, Solaris operating system. Right now we are not using Sun, we are using the Linux, so this is not useful for us right now. Then T is to change the partition's system ID. Now system ID is what? These are the system IDs. System IDs are for the different type of partition. Now by default, when we create any partition in our Linux system, so it will create this Linux type of Linux, and the number ID is what? 83. Now if suppose I want to create the NTFS partition, so I cannot create this type directly. What I can do is what? I can create the partition, it will be 83 Linux partition. Then what I will, after creating the partition, I will change the system ID to 7. That means the type I want to change to NTFS. So when we create the partition, they all will remain the 83, that means normal Linux. So if we want to change it to any other type, then we can change it by using the T. Changing the system ID, that means changing the partition type. Now U is to display the entry unit. Change the display entry unit. Now what that means, this is the display entry unit. It is displaying the entry unit in sectors. We can change it to cylinders. Now cylinders are also deprecated. That means the change this display entry unit, if you change it to cylinder, you are not able to create the partition. So it is also deprecated. So when you try to use the U command here, so it also says what? It is deprecated. Now what it do here, it changes the display entry unit to cylinders. Now cylinders, that means now if I print the partition table, now you can see it is showing it in cylinders. So it is showing that the first partition is starting from cylinder 1, ending on cylinder 66. Second is starting after 66, ending on this. Then third is starting here, ending on this. And the fourth one, which is extended, it is starting from here and it is using the whole remaining standard cylinders. And in that, it is starting the fifth one under that extended partition. Now this is what the display entry unit in cylinders, but it is also deprecated. So we should not use this, we should change it to sectors. So again, when we use the U command, it says the display entry unit changes to sector, and now it will display it as a sectors. So this is what the U command do. Then V command is to verify the partition table, that will display available space. It will say, it will show you that whether we are having some space available or not. And W is to write the table into disk and exit. So whatever the changes we do, we want to save the changes and exit, then we will press W. If you don't want to save it, then you will press Q and exit without saving. And we want to save it, so W, save and exit. And X is for the extra functionality, and that is only for experts. That means it is giving you some extra functionality. Now V is to verify the partition table. So we have this number of unallocated sectors. So we have some sectors available here. We can create a new partition with that sectors. I want to create a new partition. So what I will do here, I will use N. So I will use N here. Now when I press N, it says directly that all primary partitions are in use. So the all primary partitions are used, so we can't create primary partition. So it is directly adding the logical partition, and which is number 6. So till number 5 is already there, so it is giving number 6 to this logical partition. Now it is asking what is the first sector. First sector, that means we are having available sectors from here to here. Now where you want to start the partition? It is asking that we want to start from which sector. You can start from the beginning, or you can start from in between somewhere. By default it is selecting here at the beginning. So the first sector is already selected here by default. So if you want to do, if you want to mention any other sector, so you can mention here, and if you don't mention anything, then it will start from the first sector. So I will press enter here for the first sector, and it is going to use the default value. Default value is the first sector. Now it is saying what will be the last sector for you. Now last sector, that will decide the size of your partition. So we are starting from the beginning, first sector, and how many sectors we add. Remember, the one sector is 512 byte. So remaining, when I include the sectors, number of sectors, then it will include the size on our partition. Now it says how many sectors you want to add. Whether you want to add it to whatever the sector you want to add, or if you don't add any sector, then it will go and select the last value. That means it will use the whole remaining space. And if you don't want to use the whole remaining space, you want to use a specific space, then you have to mention the sector you want to add. That is plus and then number of sectors you want. Like for example, I want to use 10,000 sectors, so I will use plus 10,000. Now, what will be the size in MB or GB? I don't know, because I don't understand these sectors. So what I can do, I can use the size in MB, GB and KB also. So we don't go into these sectors. So what we will see, say I want to add 100 MB. That means I want to have a size of partition of 100 MB, and then I will press M. So what it says here, the partition number 6 of type Linux of size 100 MB is set. Remember, by default it uses the type Linux, that is 83. So when you press P here, now it says that this is the partition we created, this is the sectors we used, and this is the size we use, 100 MB, and by default it is what, 83. I want to create more, so I will go on to create new. Again it is saying all the primaries are created, so it is going to create number 7 partition logical. Starting value I will go with the default. Now for the ending value I can say I want to add 100 MB more, and then when you check, we have these two partitions. So we can create whatever the available space we have, we can create number of partitions by using N command. Now remember, all those partitions are by default go to create as a type 83. Now for example, I want to create this, I want to use this partition for NTFS number 6. So I want to convert it into NTFS. So what I will use here, I will use this T option to change the system ID. Default is 83, so I will use T command. Now it is asking which partition ID you want to change. You have 1 to 7. By default it is selected 7. I don't want to change 7, so I will select, I want to change the number 6. Now it is saying which code you want. Now here you can list by using the L command, and it will list all the type. So you can select which type you want, but remember it will only create the raw partition. You cannot use it. So I will select this, I want to create this. So I will say I want NTFS number 7. Now what it says here, you are converted it into NTFS. Now when you press P, it shows that this is the NTFS partition you create. Now remember, the partition number is 6, okay, and the partition number 7 is normal partition. Now I want to, because it is not going to use, we can't use it because there is no option to create the NTFS file system right now by default. So what, I want to delete this partition. So I will press D, and it says which partition you want to delete. So I want to delete number 6. Now remember, I am deleting number 6, and this is what the NTFS partition. Now see what happens. Now it says the number 6 is deleted, but when you check the partition table, it says the number 6 is still there. It is not that number 6, it is actually the 7th one. This partition was the 7th partition, but because we deleted the 6th one, you can see it is 83 Linux. Because we deleted the 6th one, that 7th become the 6. It changes the number. So if you delete any of the partition in the middle, so it will change the numbering of that partition. Now I created one partition, and then what, I want to exit from here with saving the changes. So I will press W and enter. Now when you exit from here, it says the partitions table has been altered, and it is calling the input output control to reread the partition table. That means it is trying to update the partition table, the new partition table which has this new partition, into kernel. But what it says here, warning, rereading the partition table failed with error 16, that device or resources busy. So it fails to update the new partition table in the kernel. So it tried to update the partition table in the kernel, and it fails. Now why it fails? Because the device and resources are busy. Because this partition, this actually the whole hard disk is in use. These all partition SDA 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is already in use. So it is already in use, and that is why it is not able to update this new partition in the kernel. So if we want to update this, then we have to unmount all these partitions. Then it can update this. But unmounting these partitions are not easy. These are system partitions. So what we can do, we can reboot the system. It says the kernel still uses the old table. The new table will be used at the next reboot. So for updating the new table, we have to reboot the system because these partitions we cannot unmount. Now if we don't want to reboot it, then we can do what? You can run the part probe command. This command will do what? It will update the partition table without rebooting the system. So we can do what? We can run the part probe command. Part probe and then mention the hard disk name SDA. And it runs without error. That means the partition table is updated. Remember, if it is not updated with the kernel, then when you try to use this partition, new partition, it will say there is no partition because the information for this partition is not updated in the kernel. Now it is updated in the kernel. Now we can use the partition. But because if we want to use the partition, so first we have to create the file system. Remember, without file system we cannot use any storage. So we cannot use that partition also. For example, I will create one directory. So why I created the partition? Because I want to store movies. Now I created this directory, but it is still under slash. So I don't want to store the data under slash. So I created the new partition for me, and I want to mount that partition on this directory. So first, remember, without file system we cannot use it. Now if I try to mount it, remember the mount command, it is the same command which we use to mount the flash drive or the CD DVD. Then we will mention the partition name, that is SDA6. Then where I want to mount it on this movie directory. Now when I press enter, it gives me error here. It says this is write protected, mounting read only, wrong file system. This is the cause, because there is no file system there. Bad option, bad super block on this missing code page, or helper program, or other error. So it is showing all the possible errors could be, but the possible error, what is the error? It is the wrong file type, because file system type, because there is no file system we have created. So first, using the partition, we have to create the file system on it. Now for creating the file system, we have to use the mkfs dot. Now mkfs is for making the file system dot what type of file system we want. So these are the file system by default our Linux support. So by default we can create the btree-fs, we can create the cram-fs, we can create the ext2, 3 and 4, we can create fat file system, we can create Minix, MS-DOS, VFAT and XFS. But there is no option to create the NTFS file system and any of that other file system. So here, all these other types which we saw. So we can't create them because our kernel by default does not support all of these. So if you want to create the NTFS partition, you want to create the NTFS file system, then you have to update the kernel, and then you can get the command here, and then you can create the file system. So right now we can create all these file system. So I will create XFS, which is the default one for our Linux. Then I will mention the partition name which is we created right now, and enter. So under this partition, it has created the XFS file system now, and now after creating the file system, we can use it, we can run the command to mount it on the directory, and without any error it is mounted. We can verify by using the dfs command, df-h and we can see this movie which is mounted SDA6 with the type of XFS. The total size is 100 MB. Some size is missing because of the file system information, so it is losing that information. the size because of that information. It is used 5 MB, available MB is this. So this is what we have created, a new partition, and we have mounted the partition on this directory. Now if we want to unmount it, then simple. First I will create some data here. So I will check under the movie directory. So there is no data, so I will go to movie directory and I will create some data. So I created some data here. Okay, now what, this data is under this directory, but it is not storing into this directory, it is storing into the partition, into this partition. So if I unmount the directory, I will give command umount, and I can mention the partition name, or even I can mention the directory name also. Both will work. Now it is not mounted. Now when we list the directory, it will not show any data here. Why? Because the data was under that partition. Now when we unmount the directory, the partition, the data is gone, but it is not deleted because the partition is not deleted. Partition is still there. It is just, it is not mounted here. We can mount it again and we can get the data again. It is now mounted again and we can check the data, it is back again. So this is what, creating the partition, creating the file system, and then using the partition by mounting the partition on directory. Now one more thing which is very important, when you mount the partition on the directory on this command line, it is not permanent. That means when we reboot the system and next time when you see the partition, it is not mounted. So if you want to make this partition permanent mount, then we have to add the entry of this partition into a system file for the partitions. So when the system boots, it checks the file which is related to this configuration, and if the entry is there, then it will mount those partitions. If the entry is not there, then it will not mount. These default partitions are mounted every time when you reboot the system, because the entry for these partitions are there in that file, and that file is under etc fs tab, file system table. So when you open this file, I am opening it with vim, we can see the entry. We can see this entry here. This partition is mounted on / boot home, and also we can see now swap, and this is the file system type, and this is the option. Now this is for the options which we saw, read, write, and quota, not quota. So whatever those options you see, these options comes here. Now default means it will use the default option. If we want to use any other extra option, then we can add here. Then these 0 and 0 will always remain 0. This is default. Now this indicates that the partition mount sequence and the boot the partition dump enable or disable. Dump is what? Backup. So it indicates the mount sequence and indicate the dump enable or disable. So when you use 0, it will use by default, it will use the default setting. Default setting, that means the system will handle those settings. Now here we are seeing the partition is mounted on that directory, but this is not the name of the partition, it is actually the ID of the partition. So in Linux, in RHEL 7, what we use, instead of the name of the partition here, we use what? The ID, UUID of the partition, that is unique UID of the partition. Now why we use the unique ID? Remember when I deleted the 7th partition, what happened? The number of the partition was changed, and only because of that we don't use number of the partition, name of the partition here, because that name of the partition changes when we delete some other partition. So if we use the number name of the partition here like SDA1, SDA2, SDA4, SDA5 or SDA6, and suppose I delete SDA4, then what? SDA5 become 4. Then it will become wrong here because it will not update the file. File will be changed. File we can change manually. It will not change automatically. So what happened? We will miss the partition will be mismatch, mismount, and we will get error. So instead of using the name or number of the partition, we use the unique ID of the partition. So if we want to mount, we want to make a permanent mount for our partition, we have to add the entry here in this file, and for that we need the UUID of our partition also. So how we will do that? So for getting the UUID of our partition or any other partition, we will run blkid command. Now when we run the blkid command, we see all the name of the partitions which we have and the unique UID of those partitions we have. And this is our new partition which we created, and this is the unique ID of our new partition. So I will do what? I will copy this, and then what I will do? I will open the file again, this FS tab, and here I am going to add the entry for our partition. So for that what I will do here, I will make a separate link, a separate comment here. See, I am adding a line here. Now this is what consider as a comment, and then I am separating the default and manual here. So here I will paste my UUID which I copied from there. So instead of mentioning the name of the partition, I am mentioning the UID, then space the directory which we want to mount, then the partition type, file system, then the options. Right now I will go with the default option. I won't add any extra options, and these options will remain 0. I will leave that other options 0. So what we did here, we added the UUID of our new partition, then we mentioned where we want to mount it, the directory name, the partition file system, and then the option for the default. We'll go with the default option, and then these 00, and then we will save it. Now our partition is become permanent. Now permanent, that means whenever we mount the whenever we reboot the system, it will always mount that partition. So for checking it, we can reboot the system, but it is not recommended to check the configuration. You should reboot first. You should always remember, for the partition it can be a risky, because if you make any mistake, then what happened when you start the system, reboot the system, your system will not start. So you should check before rebooting. You should check that you have made the right entry in that FSTF file. So how you will do that? First, the partition is mounted or not. I will check that. I will grab my partition, that is SDA6. So right now it is mounted. So first, to check we have made the right entry or not, I will unmount my partition. Now this time I will make I will say the directory name. Remember, you can give the name of the directory or name of the partition also. I am now mentioning the name of the directory, and now when I check is it mounted or not. So it is not mounted now. Now I will run this command mount-a. Now this command will do what? It will do it like we reboot the system. It will refresh the mount table, and it will refresh the mount table. It will check the file system, that FSTF file, and if any partition is not mounted and the entry is there in the file, then it will mount that partition. And if all the partitions, if any partition is mounted but the entry is not there, then it will not do anything. So it will not unmount anything, but it will mount only the partition which is not mounted and the entry is in the file. So when you run this command and when it runs successfully without error, that means we have done the right configurations. And if we have did any wrong, then it will give error. Now we got error here. Now remember, with this error, if I rebooted my system will not start. So now I can fix the problem. I know there is a problem, so I can fix the problem without rebooting it, without corrupting my system. Now what is the problem here? It is saying mount point, this does not exist. So actually the directory name is what? Movie, not movies. So I made the wrong name there. So I will go back to the file and I will do the correction here. And save it. Now again when I run the mount a command, now you see it is run without error, and we can check the partition is now mounted. So it is mounted without error. That means when we reboot, this partition will mounted without any error, and our system will start properly. So this is very important to check your partition, your configuration of fstab file without rebooting. So you should do what? Unmount the partition and then run the command mount-a to refresh the mount table. So what we have seen today is to create the partition, use the partition, create file system and mount it on any directory to use it.